My name is Olivia. I am 33 years old. I live in a small house with my husband and son. Our home is not big, but it is warm. We do not have much, but we have love. My husband's name is Brian. He works at a garage. He fixes cars and scooters. I work at a school. I help the children in the classroom. I also clean, sweep, and serve food. Our son is 4 years old. His name is Jake. He is full of energy. He asks many questions. He likes cars, birds, and soft cake. He smiles a lot. His smile makes my day better. On Saturdays, we try to go out. Even if we only have tea, it feels like a break. Last weekend, the sun came out after many days. The air was fresh. The trees moved gently in the wind. Jake looked out the window and said, "Can we go out today?" I looked at Brian. He smiled. "Let's take him out," he said. I was happy to hear that. I needed a change too. We did not have plans. Brian said, "Let's try that new place near the mall. People say they have good tea." I said, "Yes, let's go." Jake jumped up. "Can we take the scooter?" he asked. We don't have a car. Our old scooter still works, so we said yes. Brian helped Jake with his little helmet. I wore my light pink dress. It is old, but I keep it clean. I brushed my hair and tied it back. I put on my soft blue slippers. Brian wore his brown sandals and a plain t-shirt. Jake wore his little red shoes with stars on them. We reached the food street in 15 minutes. The place looked nice. It had lights, chairs, trees, and music. We smiled. We thought, this will be a nice evening. But that feeling did not last long. At the entrance, a man in black clothes walked to us. He had a small radio on his shoulder. He looked at the scooter, then at our shoes. He did not smile. He did not say hello. He just asked, "Where are you going?" Brian said, "We want to have some tea. Maybe cake." The man looked at my slippers. Then he looked at the scooter again. His face changed. "You can't go in like this," he said. We did not understand. I asked, "Why not?" "What is the problem?" He pointed at a small board near the wall. "No scooters, no slippers," he said. I looked at the board. The words were small. I saw pictures of cars and shoes. But people around us wore slippers too. I pointed to a woman in slippers. She just walked in. The man said, "She came by car. It is different." Brian said, "We are clean. We are quiet. We just want tea." The man crossed his arms. "This place is for a higher class. You can't go in like this. Please move your scooter." I felt something in my chest. I cannot explain it. It was like a deep push. I wanted to cry. I wanted to ask him, "What makes you better than me?" But I did not speak. Jake pulled my hand. "Why can't we go, Mommy?" he asked. We stood near the gate. Big cars came in. The guard waved at them. No one asked them about their shoes. No one asked them about their ride. They smiled. They walked in. But we stood on the side. Another guard came to us. He looked older. He asked, "Is there a problem?" Brian said, "This man stopped us. He said we don't belong here." The older guard looked shocked. He turned to the first one. "Let them in," he said. "They are just here for tea." The first man moved away, but the damage was done. I no longer wanted tea. I wanted to leave, but we had promised Jake. So we walked in. The lights were bright. The music was soft. The smell of cake and bread filled the air. We bought 1 piece of chocolate cake and 2 cups of tea. Jake smiled and ate his cake. He looked so happy. I tried to smile too, but my heart felt heavy. Brian sat with his head down. He said nothing. I knew he was hurt too. He said, "We work. We pay rent. We raise a child. We never ask for help. But still, we are not welcome." I looked at my slippers. I looked at the people walking past us. Their clothes were not very different. Some wore simple jeans. Some wore rubber slippers. But no one stopped them. No one asked them questions. We were the only ones who had to explain who we are. Just because of a scooter. Just because of shoes. That night, Jake fell asleep early. Brian cleaned the dishes. I sat near the window. I thought about what happened. I thought about the man's face, his cold eyes, his tone, his words. Why do some people think they are better? Just because of money? Or clothes? Or cars? We all eat. We all sleep. We all feel pain. Why should I feel small because I wear soft slippers? I work hard every day. I clean classrooms. I help children. I fold small sweaters. I pick up books. I make tea. I smile at strangers. I say thank you and please. I say sorry when I make a mistake. I teach Jake to say the same. My husband works long hours. His hands are always tired, but he comes home with a smile. He plays with Jake. He helps me cut vegetables. We are not perfect, but we are kind. Isn't that what matters? That night, I could not sleep. I looked at Jake. He was breathing soft and slow. I kissed his forehead. Then I looked at Brian. His face looked calm in the dark. I felt a deep pain, but also something new. I felt a small fire inside me. It said, "You are enough. Don't let that man decide your worth." And for the first time, I believed it. Before I continue my story, I want to ask you something. Where are you listening from? Sometimes I wonder if someone out there really understands me. Just knowing you're here gives me strength. The next morning, I woke up early. I went to the kitchen and made tea. Brian was still asleep. Jake was sleeping too. The house was quiet. I looked outside. The street was empty. The sky was gray. I stood by the window with my cup in hand. My slippers were beside the door. I looked at them for a long time. I thought about the man at the gate. His voice still echoed in my mind. This place is not for you. That sentence stayed with me. What did he mean by that? What place is for me then? A small shop with no light? A tea stand on the street? Why must I be placed in a box? Brian came into the kitchen. He looked tired. I gave him tea. We sat together without speaking for some time. Then he said, "Are you still thinking about last night?" I nodded. "I can't stop," I said. He looked at us like we were not human. Brian looked down. He held the cup in both hands. "That man sees cars," he said. "He sees shoes. He doesn't see hearts." We finished our tea and got ready for the day. It was Sunday. Brian had no work. I had no school. But we had laundry to wash and food to cook. I cleaned the living room while Brian helped Jake with his toys. Jake made a small tower with blocks. He laughed when it fell. His laugh made me feel better. In the afternoon, I went to the local shop. I needed milk and bread. I walked down the street in my slippers. I passed 3 people. No one looked at my feet. No one judged me. I bought what I needed and came back home. But I still felt that small pain inside me. Later that day, my friend Sarah called. She works at the same school. She said, "Do you want to come for tea tomorrow after work?" I said yes. I needed to talk to someone. Maybe I needed to be heard. Monday came. I wore my school dress. I packed Jake's small bag and dropped him off at preschool. Then I went to work. I cleaned the tables. I helped a girl find her lunchbox. I smiled when a boy gave me a paper heart. At the end of the day, I walked to Sarah's home. She lives in a flat near the school. Her door was open. She smiled when she saw me. "Come in," she said. Her kitchen smelled like cookies. We sat on her sofa. She poured tea into 2 cups. She asked, "Are you okay? You look a bit quiet today." I looked at her and said, "Can I tell you something?" I told her everything. The scooter, the slippers, the guard, the words, the looks. I told her how I felt. I did not cry, but my voice shook. Sarah listened. She did not speak until I finished. Then she said, "You are not alone. It happens to many people. It even happened to me once." I was surprised. Sarah always looks so strong. She said, "People think money gives them power, but respect is not about clothes or cars. It is about heart." Her words felt warm. I felt like someone finally saw me. I went home that evening and hugged Jake. He showed me a drawing he made. It was full of red and green shapes. "This is you," he said. "And this is Daddy. And this is our scooter." I smiled. "It's very nice," I said. "You are a good artist." After dinner, I sat with Brian. I told him about Sarah. I said, "She made me feel seen. She made me feel better." Brian said, "That's good. You needed that." He paused and then said, "I have been thinking too." He looked at me. "We can't change how people see us, but maybe we can change how we feel inside." I nodded. "We can start with small things." We made a plan to take Jake to the park next Sunday. Not the fancy one. A small park near our area. It has swings and a small tea shop. It's not big, but it's kind. That week passed slowly. Every night, I thought a little more. I remembered a girl from school. Her name was Lucy. She wore old shoes, but she was the kindest child I had ever seen. She once gave her sandwich to another girl who forgot her lunch. I remembered that and smiled. People like Lucy make the world better, not the man at the gate. On Friday, I had a small idea. At school, we had a board where children place thank you notes. I asked the teacher if I could write something there too. She said yes. I wrote, "Kindness is better than clothes. Thank you to all who smile." I placed it on the board. I felt proud. Saturday came. Brian worked half day. I cleaned the windows. I looked at my slippers again. I did not feel shame anymore. They were mine. They were clean. They were soft. They helped me move forward every day. Sunday arrived. We went to the park. Jake ran to the slide. Brian bought tea from a cart. I sat on the bench. I watched the people. Some wore simple clothes. Some wore old shoes. Some wore nothing special at all. But they all smiled. No one was better. No one was less. Brian handed me the cup of tea. "Here," he said. "Best tea in town." I laughed. I took a sip. It was hot and sweet. Jake ran to us and said, "This is the best day." I smiled. "Yes, it is." That evening, we went home and ate together. After Jake slept, I opened my small phone and wrote something in a group chat of school helpers. I wrote, "Never feel small because you look simple. You are strong. You are kind. You belong." One woman replied, "Thank you. I needed this." I went to bed with peace in my heart. A few days later, I was walking home from work. It was a sunny afternoon. The road was quiet. I passed the same tea shop near the gate of the food street. I stopped and looked at it for a while. People walked in and out. Some wore fancy shoes. Some wore simple ones. I stood there and watched them. I thought about that night again, about the man who looked at my feet, about the way he spoke to us. I thought about how I felt small, how I could not say anything. I remembered Jake's face when he asked, "Why can't we go, Mommy?" That was the moment I knew I had to change something. Not the world, but maybe myself. When I reached home, I found Jake drawing again. He was making pictures of flowers. Brian came home soon after. He looked tired. I gave him water. We ate dinner together. After Jake went to sleep, I told Brian, "I want to do something." He asked, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to write about what happened. I want to share it with others." Brian looked at me for a moment. Then he said, "Yes, you should. Maybe someone else needs to hear it too." The next morning, I took my phone. I wrote about our visit. I wrote about the words. I wrote about how we were treated. I wrote about the pain. But I also wrote about Jake's laugh, about Sarah's tea, about the small park, and about the note on the school board. I did not write to get attention. I wrote because I needed to speak. I needed to take back my voice. I sent it to a small group of women from the school. Then I forgot about it. I went to work. I helped a boy tie his shoes. I cleaned a table full of paint. I wiped a girl's tears. The day was normal. That night, I checked my phone again. There were many replies. One woman said, "This happened to me last year." Another said, "Thank you for writing this. I feel strong now." One more said, "You are brave." I did not feel brave. I felt like me, but their words warmed my heart. 2 days later, the school head called me to her office. I was nervous. I thought maybe I had done something wrong, but she smiled and said, "I read your story. Thank you for sharing." It touched my heart. She asked me if I would like to speak at a small school event next month. "Just a few parents and helpers," she said. "You can talk about respect." I felt scared. I had never spoken in front of people before, but I said yes. I wanted to try. Brian was proud. Jake did not understand it all, but he clapped when I told him. That week, I thought a lot about what I would say. I wrote simple words. I read them out loud. I stood in front of the mirror and practiced. The day of the event came. I wore my clean pink dress. I wore the same slippers. I stood in front of the small room. There were about 20 people. My hands were cold. But when I saw Sarah's face in the crowd, I smiled. I spoke slowly. I said, "I am Olivia. I work here at the school. I want to tell you something small. One day, I went with my family for tea. A man stopped us. He said we did not belong there because of our shoes, because of our scooter." The room was very quiet. I said, "That night, I felt small. I felt sad. But later, I found peace. I found support. I found strength in small places, in my son's laugh, in a friend's words, in a kind message." Then I said, "Please teach your children to be kind. Tell them all people deserve respect. Not just the ones with money or cars. Everyone. People clapped. My hands were shaking, but I felt strong. After the event, a woman came to me. She said, "Thank you. My daughter is shy like you. Today, you gave me hope for her." I walked home with Brian and Jake. The sun was setting. The sky was gold. I held Brian's hand. I looked at Jake. I said, "This was a good day." Brian said, "Yes." Weeks passed. Things went back to normal. I still cleaned. I still helped the children. But I felt something new inside me. I felt full. I no longer looked at my slippers with shame. I looked at them with pride. They took me to work. They helped me stand. They held me when I spoke in front of a room full of people. One day, the older guard from that night saw me near the shop. He smiled. He said, "I remember you. I'm sorry again for that day." I said, "Thank you for speaking up that night. It meant something." He said, "You were brave to come in. Some people walk away, but you stayed." I smiled. I said, "I stayed because I had my son with me, and he deserves to go where others go." He nodded and walked away. That night, I looked out the window again. The same street, the same air, but I felt different. I remembered that not all people are kind, but some are, and sometimes we need to be the kind one. I went to bed with peace in my heart. I was not angry anymore. I was not sad. I was strong. If you liked my story, please like, comment, and share. More simple and emotional stories are coming soon.